Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mebois Podcast, episode 20. I'm Josh,
And I'm Ray.
and this past Friday, I tried out on the behest of a friend. Um, is that proper? Behest of a friend? At a friend's behest?
I think it's at a friend's behest.
I tried out on a friend's
Breast.
I tried my friend's breast. I tried out White Claw, which is a alcoholic seltzer, which is like
It's so weird
it
to
sounds pretty. Yeah, it sounds like a little something saying it, but um, they were ranting and raving about it. So I was like, okay. I was convinced that they weren't going to sell it near me because I had never heard of such a thing.
me. Right.
Um, and like I'm usually a beer guy, but like I've had like cider and stuff. Like it's good, but I'd never heard of that. So I'm like, okay. So I actually I went to there's like a lot of alcohol places near me just because I live in like a pretty populated area.
Yeah.
And so the first one I went by was actually closed. So okay, whatever. So I ended up going to like this more like upscale one that's like by some new development near like a train station. So it was like a pretty upclass place, and it was like a huge. I mean, not huge, but huge as far as liquor stores goes, warehouse. And so I go in there and I'm kind of wandering around because it's mostly wine. And so I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go in the back and there's beer. And I'm like, okay, we're getting there. And so I'm seeing beer and I'm just like, I should just get beer and be done with it. I'm like, okay, now I'll look for this White Claw. And so I round the corner and there's this guy stocking shelves and he kind of startles me. He's like, oh, can I help you find anything? I'm like, yeah, do you have White Claw? And in his hand, he was holding a case of White Claw. I was like, whoa.
Sounds like an ad.
Yeah, right? Here you go.
What's the cider that they throw apples at your head in the commercial?
Red's Apple Ale.
Yeah. So that sort of thing. He just chucks it at you.
Although I haven't seen commercials for Red's Apple Ale in a long time. I think I have actually had that once. It was fine. I think I even liked it a little less than Angry Orchard.
Angry Orchards are probably the best ones I've had. There's that, and there's the Strongbows.
Oh yeah, Strongbow's good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I probably like Strongbow more than Angry Orchard. I think, but I have it less often.
And then
I mean,
there's-
Angry Orchard is like the normie cider.
Yeah, and then
It's
there's
about as tame as you can get.
I think the more classic one is probably Magners.
Right. Yeah. I don't think I've actually had that. I know I've heard you talk about it.
I think I think that was the one that one of our friends had, and he thought it was a flat. It felt a little flat. It tasted a little flat. So he asked the waitress to take it back to the bartender.
Yeah.
And she's just like, "This is how it's made."
Yeah. This is cider. It's not alcoholic seltzer. Dude, like.
He felt really dumb. But I also like backed his claim. I felt like it did taste odd. Maybe
I
flat
don't
wasn't
know.
the right term for it, but it was sort of like that.
See, just for me, it's sort of like, especially when it comes to alcohol. I don't know why I'm less picky about that, but when it comes to alcohol, it's sort of like, I generally don't complain about anything anyway, but when it comes to alcohol especially, I just like, okay, I'm drinking this. But yeah, I think I had like much better ciders when I was in Minnesota. We went out to a brewery
Mm-hmm.
and we got like one of those, what do they call, like flights, where you get like a couple of small glasses, like all in a row.
I'm not sure what the word
You
is.
choose like a bunch of different types.
Right.
I think it's a flight. So I got like a bunch of cider there, and it was great. Like I slammed all of those, and then the girl I was with didn't even finish like two of them of hers. Although to be fair, she was driving, so that's probably a good idea. Whoa, this cider is really getting to me.
It's just a sugar
yeah,
rush.
Yeah. Driving hyper. Um, so I got White Claw. I got like the mango flavor.
Hmm.
They only had like two flavors there, uh, and it's okay. It's fine. I mean, like it it sort of tastes more like seltzer, more like soda than alcohol.
Hmm.
Like it doesn't taste alcoholic at all, really. I think it's only like 5%. So it's like cider or some beers.
Oh, okay.
Um, but it was fine, and it wasn't like too expensive. Like I think I got it's probably like 16 of them for like $18 or something, or maybe it was 12. I can't remember.
That's pretty good.
Um, it was a big ass case. Anyway, but it was okay. But people were making fun of me for the rest of the night for getting a girly drink or something, even though it was my friend's idea. But it was okay. I mean,
Wait, who was making fun of you? I figured it would be the the friends. I'm like the people at the liquor store.
no. The people at the liquor store didn't make fun of me. Oh boy, why'd you drink beer? That'll be the day when someone at the liquor store makes fun of my purchase. But no, it was just friends.
Oh,
But
okay.
it was funny though because when I was leaving the liquor store, so I checked out at the counter. There was a couple of counters, and then I hear from behind me like, "Do you want to try something? I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like rum."
Hmm.
And I didn't know if they were talking to me, so I turned around. There's like this girl. I think she was like one of those people they send around to like I don't know if like a merchandiser is the right word. I don't know, but um like one time when we were at a bar, the Blue Moon guy was there.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, sort of like promoting the drink.
Right.
So I think it was sort of like that, where they were like releasing this rum or something. And so she was there. She's like, "Oh, do you want to try it?" Which I've never heard of, like giving out free samples of alcohol outside of a establishment that lets you drink alcohol. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not exactly sure about the legality of that. Um, but she was like, "Oh yeah, if you buy it, you know, you get one of these, and then you get a special little shot glass." I thought about it for a second, just because it was like $20 or something, and I collect shot glasses.
Yeah.
Even though I don't even take that many shots. Um, but I was like, "Fuck, I'm not gonna buy it." But so I took the little cup or whatever and downed it real quick. And she's like, "Oh, what do you think?" I'm like, "It's okay. I'll stick with this though. Thank you." And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to like savor the flavor or something, or if I was just supposed to, down it. I mean, it was probably about a shot size. So it was kind of a weird experience to walk into a liquor store and buy my alcoholic seltzer. And then when I'm on my way out, just take a shot and then walk out into the street.
Just fall over.
Yeah, oh, it really got to me. But yeah, that's the conclusion. If you're somewhere where it's available, even though I thought it wouldn't be available near me, but apparently it's a thing. White Claw is okay if you don't like beer and you don't want cider, but you want something that's similar to cider. I don't know exactly what the market is, but it's okay.
I feel like it's
We'll
very.
see you next time.
No, I feel like it's very. Just gathering my thoughts. I feel like it's very marketed. I don't know. I think of White Claw and I think of people at like a boat show or something.
Boat show. I don't know. It's like they're in like little sort of like cans. You'd sort of get not like the short fat soda cans, but like the taller thin ones.
Yeah, yeah. Like the ones that Four Loko comes in.
Smaller than that, but yeah, sort of that shape. Yes, I should have gotten some before. Look, I wonder if they still sell that.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's different. I know it's different now, but
is it?
Well, from when it first came out, but like, I mean, when it first came out, I don't think we even knew each other yet.
Probably not.
Back when people were going blind because of such high alcohol content.
You've never seen Peaky Blinders, right?
No.
The trailer for season 5 came out, and pretty much up till season 3, I really thought of the show as like really high quality show, one of the best I've
Right.
seen. But I'm excited about season 5, but my concern is the show has just gotten too big, and not necessarily in terms of popularity, in
Right.
terms of the story. So, I guess a brief rundown is season 1. The show is a small gang in Birmingham, England. They have like rivalry with other people. They're trying to make it up in the world. Fast forward to now, the main character, Tommy Shelby, is one of the MPs for England.
That's quite a change, isn't it?
It's huge, and it's just it doesn't feel grounded anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm sure I'll still like it. It's just, I don't know. Like, season 4, I enjoyed, but it just felt like it felt really big. Like, so season 4, he had a rivalry with one of the, I can't remember if it was New York or Chicago gangs. Like, Tommy had killed the guy's parents as retribution for his wife getting killed.
Spoiler.
So the son comes to Birmingham, all the way to Birmingham, to fucking take out the Peaky Blinders. And in the end, it's resolved by the fact that Tommy makes a deal with Al Capone.
Fuck off.
So basically, the guy had brought his entire mafia family to England, paving the way for Al Capone to take over his territory back in the U.S.
Wait. Al Capone to take over his territory in the U.S.
Yeah, take over the Italian guy's territory, not the Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
So the American guy, the Italian-American guy who came all the way to England to kill the Peaky Blinders,
Right.
didn't think to leave some people behind to protect
Oh, I see.
to protect all his assets because he was so blinded by revenge.
It was Peaky Blinded.
They should have said that while looking at the camera. You've been Peaky Blinded.
Wasn't it like they had like razor blades in their caps or something? And they swipe you in the eyes. Is that,
Yeah, so that was their
that started?
signature. Their signature move is they put a
Little pussy
they put
move.
a. It's not a surprise move they do.
Right.
It's what they do in combat. So they have a razor blade they keep in the peak of their cap, and they slash your eyes out. But yeah, I'm like, now he's an MP. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. They'd
rather start talking about Brexit. One day we will have a British exit.
Well,
What, like a Brexit boss? You've been Peaky Blinded.
Man, it reminds me of, and I think Peaky Blinders is a much better show than Sons of Anarchy, but it reminds me a lot of what Sons of Anarchy went through.
Mm-hmm.
So the first few seasons of the show, I think they're just gun runners. They sell guns and whatever, which is already kind of unrealistic considering the show took place in like 2008, I think was the first season. I can't remember. But it's
Right.
already sort of like biker gangs don't really do that anymore.
Right.
And then by the end of it, they're smuggling drugs for the cartel. The CIA's involved. The FBI's involved, and all of this. It just felt like way too big.
One of the bikers is a senator. It's honestly like such a lame direction to take your story because it can only get like political from there, unless you're watching for a political show or something. But
Yeah.
it's like that doesn't make things more interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think the best qualities these shows had was how grounded it was, and how intimate it was. Like everyone knew each other, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there are more examples of shows like getting too big.
Well, it's sort of like what I talked about when I was discussing Stranger Things season 3,
Mm-hmm.
in that what makes the show good, if it succeeds, is its original premise. And then as time goes on and you have more seasons, you have like I don't know the exact words for it, but basically scope creep,
Mm-hmm.
where the scope of your plot starts getting out of hand because you need to create more episodes,
Right.
and the original uh, formula or container for your whole plot doesn't fit more episodes anymore because it's over. Um, so like, I mean, in my opinion, it generally I don't think I can think of a single example where it makes things any better. Um, like for example, I've been rewatching the XFiles for a long time because there's a lot of fucking episodes.
Yeah.
I've probably watched the XFiles like 2 times before this, and I think I'm on like season 8 now. And it goes from, you know, Fox Mulder wanting to find his sister and wanting to prove the existence of aliens to like, there's going to be an alien invasion, the Earth is going to end. And like aliens that have healing superpowers, and there's alien bounty hunters, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's sort of like,
And there's Ripley. Whoa.
Ripley's Believe It or Not. It turns into a different show, and your base audience doesn't want to watch that show, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Or maybe enough of them do that it does keep going. I mean, Peaky Blinders on season 5, XFiles went to like season 9, I believe.
Yeah, didn't XFiles have like a super big movie too?
I think there was a movie. I think
With
also that there was.
Billy Connolly, I think his name is.
I can't remember. I don't think I've ever watched the movie. But they also had like the comeback season or whatever, sort of like how Twin Peaks did it. So I do want to watch that because I've never watched that either. But yeah, it's sort of like the thing you got into the show for isn't really what it's about by the time you get to like a season 5. Like season
Right.
5, I think, is a bad place to be for any series, because unless you've perfectly planned out everything,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like maybe like 6 or 7 episodes a season, then you're going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel if you're sticking with your original stuff. So you're going to end up making someone a prime minister.
Right.
You're going to end up making it so that the world's going to end. And
Yep.
for me, at least, the story's not compelling when, you know, the actions of the main character influences the outcome of like the Earth being destroyed or something. Like that's not really. Those aren't interesting stakes for me. Like I prefer something a little more smaller and grounded, like you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes
Which is why.
Go ahead.
Well, which is why, like in the past, I've talked about, like I've talked about the XFiles, and I've talked about like Fringe, which I haven't watched in a long time, but
Yeah.
the individual episodes where they're not even linked to the main story become more interesting because the main story is exhausting because every action is about the end of the world,
Right.
and every action is tied in this web of a million seasons of events, whereas individual episodes, they actually get to tell a fun little story or whatever, and they don't have to worry about all this other writing.
Yeah. Like you bringing up the X-Files kind of reminds me of Indiana Jones, how that storyline has shifted.
Right.
Like it went from this guy who is a archaeologist finding ancient things. I mean, the first one still had things that were out there. I mean, the Nazis, and then there was like this spirit in this box.
Right. Yeah.
So it was never like grounded in reality, but it still felt, it didn't feel like it went too far. But then the fourth one, it was like aliens, and then there was a UFO under one of the Aztec buildings, and just like, and then ants who eat people. It just got really crazy. But
Crystal Skull did have actual aliens, right?
yeah, it had aliens.
That's great.
But I feel like sometimes it's also not necessarily the show gets too big. Did I ever tell you about Broadchurch?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before.
Yeah, like that show was about a murder of a teenage boy in a small English town, and it had really compelling characters. Like the main character is like a very good detective, but he's had trouble in his personal life. He's alcoholic and all that stuff. So there's other character things. So the first season was finding out who killed the boy. The second season was like what happens to the town during the trial and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the third season, because that story is done, is a completely new story, and the show just wasn't as popular anymore.
Right.
And then it was canceled after season 3.
Yeah, and the thing is, your show gets canceled, and then it's sort of the story's forever tarnished because it just went in a direction that didn't work. Instead of just sort of understanding when the story is over. And I mean, I'll give a hot take here. That's why I think generally movies are superior to shows.
Mm-hmm.
Because shows by design, they need to fill air. You watch a show because you want to experience something for longer, and you're probably going to watch an episode or two in the background, and you just want to have something to look forward to watching, continuing that story. But it's not. I'm convinced you probably can't tell a story as well in general with a series as compared to a movie, because having the constraint of 90 minutes or sometimes 2 hours or more,
mm-hmm.
actually it makes you cut out the chaff. It makes you focus on the story and what you actually want to say. Whereas when you have a series, you end up having 30 minutes of the episodes being just little kids kissing in Stranger Things. It's like, well, this is completely why do I need this? So yeah, I don't know. It's harder definitely for me to like a show, just because I think just by their design, they're poorer quality than a good movie. I think a good show is usually worse than a good movie.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think like a show, for it to be good for multiple years, like for more than, let's cap it at like 4, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be better than 3 seasons, it needs writers who understand like the main story is the one that's going to hook people, and you can't get away from that.
Right.
And then you need a studio behind you who won't try to stretch it out as long as possible.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because if you're going to change the story, you might as well make a new show. And the reason why you don't do that is because you want people to watch it, so you keep the familiar name there.
Yeah.
But that's just a shitty thing to do, and you're just ruining the IP basically.
Yeah. So I think sitcoms probably get away with it a bit more just because they're lighthearted in nature.
Well, yeah, and I mean, especially like I was saying before, especially stuff like sitcoms are much more like background consumption, or even if you are like watching it, it's not
for the story. It
usually doesn't challenge you very.
Mm-hmm.
The story is usually not too compelling. Of course, they have their moments, and I think, funnily enough, I do believe that, at least for me, storytelling in movies is just generally superior. But I think fan communities of series are often much stronger than fan communities of movies.
Yeah, I think they're more passionate.
Yeah, you create a more passionate group of people, because I think it's more of an experience in a way, or I guess a longer experience than a movie. I think movies are stronger experiences, but it's sort of, I don't know. I think we've talked about this before, just like everything else in my life that I've talked about a million times. I think I've talked about everything at this point, but
this is the last episode.
There's sort of a Yeah, this is 20 guys. We're done. Nobody's watching. um, I think there's sort of this sickness that's brought on too because of communities that are around. In that nobody, also, I won't say nobody, but most people don't want it to end because there's a certain, I don't know, there's a certain comfort in shows, I think.
Yeah.
Where you have these familiar characters and then familiar events, and then you sort of know how things are sort of going to go. But it's sort of like, in a weird way, some people, I think it's sort of like having a friend tell you stories or something like that.
Yeah, I get that.
So when people really like a show, they don't want it to end, even if they don't, they might not even realize, but even if the quality has dipped down really far, because it's just they want another episode.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's the sort of danger. I feel like that's why a lot of shows. I feel like we hear more about shows that did it wrong towards the end than did it right. Like,
yeah,
if I can, like, the only show I can think of where people are like, they ended it the right time and they ended it well is Breaking Bad. Like, I'm talking about like drama shows, not sitcoms.
Right.
Like, everyone complained about Game of Thrones, me included. Sons of Anarchy, it went a little too big. I feel like Peaky Blinders might. I know Lost is a show that a lot of people were disappointed with, and it just got really weird. And I don't know the story, but I know it got way out there and just made no sense.
Lost is a great early example of that.
Mm-hmm. I think what people say is like the first 4 seasons of Lost were amazing television. Dexter, the first 4 seasons, really good, and then it just lost its magic because
he got cancer and it ruined everything. He's still alive, right? I can make fun of that.
The guy who's Dexter?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's fine. I think he beat his cancer. I think he went into remission.
Hey, cheers to that.
I know it was really weird when the woman playing his sister, they got married in real life. And
that's why God punished him with cancer.
There was an incest storyline for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, like Deborah had to go.
Which episode?
No, nothing ever happened because of it. But Deborah had to go to a therapist for some reason, and the therapist was noticing, like, whenever she would talk about Dexter, it would seem like she was in love with him or something. And she's like, "I'm not fucking in love with my brother, all right?" She's very
defensive.
Yeah, she's very defensive, and she never tells him.
That just reminded me of whenever she talks about Dexter. I was thinking, you remember that episode of Dexter, in the kids TV show where he's speaking French?
Oh.
No, not the.
Omelette du fromage.
Oh, Dexter, say it again.
I gotta show you this clip from Dexter. It's this clip where he confronts his stepdaughter's friend's father for beating his daughter. And he hits him and whatever. He punches him in the kidney, and he explains like what he's going through. It's pretty intense. It's pretty cool. Punches him in the kidney, and he's like, "Oh, your kidney's going through this right now. That's why you're panicking in your head." That sort of thing. That sort of smart tough guy thing.
Edgy boy, as we call him.
What you call it? Edgy boy?
Yeah.
Dexter's kind of edgy.
Yeah, this show's pretty edgy.
But
everyone watching is sort of like, yeah, I'd kill 2 if I had to.
But the last thing he does is the guy's on the ground and Dexter kicks him. But the angle they shot it, you can.
Oh, that's so funny.
The angle they shot it, he misses the body completely. And you hear still hear the sound effect. And then it's just sort of like, how did anyone in the editing process not be like, let's do that one more time. Let's move the camera a little behind the guy.
Yeah, let's not show the foot, maybe. That just reminds me. I wish we still had that video of me throwing the chair, and when the shot changes, I'm wearing a hat again.
I mean, it's up there. It's on YouTube still.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I never took it down.
Oh man. Maybe I should. I don't know. I don't know if I'll throw it in because I don't. I don't want to show off my face. But I just think it's funny.
We'll just blur your face.
Yeah. People will reverse image search it and they'll dox me. This guy made fun of Dexter's cancer. He's the smartest boy scientist out there.
Yeah, you're Mandark.
Yeah, I'm that episode where Mandark just keeps on making the ha 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 sounds with everything he does. You hear how enthusiastic I was about that? I remember seeing that episode as a kid in my my grandma's living room because I didn't have like cable or anything, so I couldn't really watch the good cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I'd like go over to my grandma's on Sunday, I would see cartoons like on Cartoon Network and whatnot.
Oh. Wasn't there an episode where Dexter turned into like the Hulk?
I think there was stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember really. I was never like too much of a fan of it, but I would watch it if it was on.
It's a Hanna-Barbera show, right?
I mean, isn't everything?
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. The art style's a little. It's funny when you look at all the Hanna-Barbera stuff. It's sort of like the similarity of all the art styles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all the one art style is pretty funny.
It's all one universe. It's the
This
Hanna-Barbera
Cinematic
universe.
HBCU. Whenever I hear that name, I don't think like a cartoon company. I think of just like a person.
Yeah, same.
Barbarian Hannah.
That's where Seth MacFarlane got his start.
Damn, I wish they never existed then.
That's more tame than saying,
but-
I wish he was on that flight to 9/11.
What?
He was supposed to be on that flight.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, like him and like a couple celebrities were supposed to be on those flights. Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be on that flight. I think Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be on the flight that
bullshit.
like
I doubt
landed in Pennsylvania outside the Pentagon.
Right into the field.
Yeah. Though the funny thing is, like Mark Wahlberg got
I don't believe
got in-
anyone who tells me those stories.
Well, Mark Wahlberg got in trouble like 2 years ago because someone asked him about it, and he's just like, he was basically saying like, yeah, if I was there, I would have tried to fight those guys.
If it were me, I would have stopped 9/11.
I think that's sort of what he was saying. I remember talking to a friend about it,
Absolutely.
and then we're just like, what? Why does why Marky Mark?
You gotta be a man, man. I don't think he realizes how difficult it would be to fight someone in a plane.
Yeah.
In a plane who has guns. And if they shoot through the walls, then everyone's gonna get sucked out of the fucking plane.
Isn't it something to do with like the pressure, and then if you shoot a gun in a plane with that much pressure in it, like I don't know the science behind it, but something bad happens.
It's not good.
Yeah.
You shouldn't shoot a gun in a plane.
When it's above a certain height, you shouldn't, because the pressure is too much.
Well, you shouldn't ever do it anyway, because just don't be a terrorist. But but if it were me, I would have stopped him. Fucking idiot. Is it him who? Yeah, you blinded that guy, dude. You're a terrorist yourself. I don't know. I hate
Mark Wahlberg.
I hate shit. Who did I mess him up with?
Matt Damon.
I hate Matt Damon in The Wall. I'm not even gonna try to remember which one's actually in The Wall.
Matt Damon.
Okay. Matt Damon's talking about the Huns invading. Oh, is it the Huns or is it were those Genghis Khan's people?
Yeah, but I think The Wall was more like dragons and shit, I think.
No. But I'm saying, like, in terms of why they created the actual Wall of China,
Oh.
Matt Damon's like, oh, if it were me, I would have stopped him. But no, like I'm sure. I mean, it's New York, right? So I'm sure plenty of people who are going to be in that area or somehow involved ended up through some circumstance not being involved, or whatever like that. But I've heard so many people talk about it that I just don't believe anybody anymore.
Yeah. If
because
anything,
people like to be like, oh man, could have been me.
if anything, it should have been Matt Damon, because then the terrorists would get scared. Because they'd just be like, oh my god, it's Jason Bourne.
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Although they wouldn't say Jesus Christ, they'd say
Mashallah.
well, never mind, we won't go to that.
Mashallah, it's Jason Bourne.
Well, maybe they'd just be fans of his movies, and so they wouldn't want to crash the plane. So then they'd never see it. Wait, they wouldn't see another one anyway. They'd die.
You can get off.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Wait, was Jason Bourne even out yet?
I don't know. I've never watched. I doubt it.
The first
considering how high the video quality is of the memes.
No, I mean the first one.
I have no idea.
First Jason, 2002. Oh, just missed it.
Could have been me.
Hey man, I loved you in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. What's the
9/11 Survivors Guild.
It's not your fault, Will. Stop it.
Shut
What
up.
are you doing?
It's not your fault. They were gonna blow up those buildings anyway. Oh. Turns into Genie. It's not your fault. I'm gonna kill myself. Jesus. That was it. He couldn't stand the survivor's guilt of Mark Wahlberg not being killed in 9/11. Marshall.
Marshall Ali.
Oh yeah, Marshall. God, it could have been him. It's my least favorite thing. It could have been me.
9/11
It's like,
is my
yeah, maybe
least
if your
favorite
life was
thing.
more interesting. Maybe if your life was more interesting, you'd be dead. Thank you for saying that. Would you like to switch?
Switch to what? Topics?
I'm saying, like, would you like to switch with one of the actual victims?
Oh.
Well, I wouldn't be a victim if it were me. Imagine being so fucking full of yourself that you said something like that. I wouldn't be the victim of terrorism. I'd be the terrorist. I am the law.
That's the only way I would
I am the
see
one
that.
who knocks.
Yeah, that's the only way I would see that state of mind going. Is I wouldn't.
What
be
if you were in? What if you were in a plane that was heading towards the towers, and you're all screaming and panicking, and then one of the terrorists turns around and he lifts up his balaclava, and it's Mark Wahlberg, and he winks at you and then pulls his mask back down, but then he just crashed into the building anyway. Oh.
Dude, it'll be funny is in that interview, they'd be like, "Do you really think you could have stopped it?" And he was like, "Maybe, maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself."
You know, if those terrorists grew up in my neighborhood,
they'd be dead.
they'd be white.
Dude, there's so many. I feel like there's so many quotes that you can take from The Departed. about Matt Damon's.
Departed.
No, not Matt Damon. Mark Wahlberg's interview.
Mark Wahlberg.
That's probably his name.
Close enough.
Like, you've seen The Departed, right?
No.
Oh. Well, there's one scene where, like, they're doing surveillance, and the guy fucks up, and there's a blind spot in one of the stings they have going. So they get mad at
blind spot.
Yeah, they get mad at the tech guy, and Mark Wahlberg complaining, and the tech guy's like, "Oh, and who are you?" And Mark Wahlberg's like, "I'm the guy that does his job. You must be the other guy." I'm just like, that must be how he feels about the people in the airplane.
Yeah, it's your job. So I don't know. I don't know how many.
How many breastfeeders we
nobody's-
have out there?
How many how many nipples we got listening? At least double our viewers. We hope. But I don't know how many people out there paid attention to the streaming world, but I watch a good amount of people on Twitch. I know over time Twitch is sort of changed a bit, and some people like it, some people don't. Where it used to be that if you weren't streaming a game, then you would be shut down, basically.
Mm-hmm.
At least as far as I remember. The rules are probably more nuanced than that, but basically you had that gameplay going on because Twitch was a game streaming site. You still, of course, have face cam or whatever, but you had to be playing a game. And then sort of over time, Twitch sort of evolved to have like the just chatting subgenre, where it's literally just like talk shows or things like that. I think there's actually a talk show genre as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just gameplay anymore, which I have no problem with. I think it's a smart move by them because then just more people will use your platform.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention at all to Twitch, then you'll know that people sort of complain that it's people sort of feel that certain streams they sort of treat it like almost like a cam girl site, more or less. Whereas like you try to get around Twitch's terms of service in regards to like sexual content and whatnot by like doing innocuous things in order to like show your ass off when you get a donation or something. Basically a light form of a cam site. So like I don't think too many people had a problem with the just chatting stuff, but I think people do kind of care when it's just these random people basically doing softcore porn.
Right. Such as breastfeeding.
Not that we don't want, such as breastfeeding, which is not softcore. However, so recently a streamer on Twitch had a Twitch clip, which is like a video on demand of like a previous stream.
A Twitch clit?
Yeah, she had a Twitch clip. She was twitching her clit. That's something. Where in it she was breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And so it got taken down, and then she sort of protested it, saying, like it's not sexual content, it's breastfeeding. Which in concept I agree with. And they reviewed it or whatever, and then they came out with a statement, which I haven't looked at. Oh, I can't read right now because I didn't prepare because I'm an idiot.
As she's breastfeeding, baby just takes a bit of a bite and hurts her. She just goes, "Milo," and throws him over.
If you don't know that reference, then go watch Alinity throw her cat.
She was breastfeeding her cat.
That's sick.
Because of the Cats trailer.
Oh yeah, it's making kids sick. Okay, so I think the person who had the clip was Heathered Effect. So she had a tweet. Today I streamed while breastfeeding at Twitch. This clip, which had over 20,000 views and would have helped tremendously with the hashtag normalized breastfeeding movement, was deleted by Twitch with no explanation. We obviously have a long way to go in the fight to normalize breastfeeding. So, I mean, I'll get to that. Okay, that's what she said.
It's time to riot.
There's a lot of, you can find this online, but basically, after further discussions between partnerships, safety ops, and trust and safety, there is alignment between all teams that breastfeeding is not and will not be against the terms of service.
Mm-hmm.
As you so eloquently put it, breastfeeding is not lewd, and we agree with you. Twitch community guidelines will need to be updated to provide a level of transparency, which will take time, but I can show you what's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that clears your mind of concern. You did nothing wrong. So I'll go to the Twitch terms of service here, the community guidelines in regards to sexual content. So as I'm looking at the current community guidelines in regards to sexual content on August the 4th, sexual violence and exploitation are strictly prohibited and may be reported to law enforcement. Examples include, but are not limited to, content containing a person in a state of nudity or engaged in sexual acts. So a person in a state of nudity is against the terms of service. Breastfeeding, of course, is a state of nudity. It depends how they do, which I'll get into why I think this is all so dumb. But okay, so in a state of nudity, that is against terms of service. It's also not exactly relevant here, but any nudity, sexual content, sexual violence, or sexual exploitation that involves minors, obviously the child's not going to be nude if they're breastfeeding, but there is nudity, and you are basically exploiting a minor by doing that on stream, which I'll sort of get into my opinion on that. Basically, the rules are you cannot be naked on stream. How they're going to quantify that in terms of like, okay, well, what if someone's breastfeeding and then they take the child off their breast and then they're just showing their nipple on stream? Is that not nudity? Is there a grace period of 10 seconds from when you remove a kid's mouth from your tit that suddenly it's okay? I don't know. There's just no good way to go around it. But all that being said, I'll be clear that I'm not somebody who's like, oh my God, breastfeeding is unnatural, or like, oh my God, I can't believe people do that in public. Oh my God. That's so hot. No, like, I think, like, that's stupid. It's the most natural thing in the world. I don't care if people do it in public. I don't care if they do it right in front of me. But the thing is...
In fact, I welcome it.
Please. But, like, I feel like people are making, like, a weird false equivalency here where, like, you can breastfeed in public, but you can't do it online. Why not? But, like, it's not public in the same way that real life is. Like, people are having a disconnect here between, like, real life and streaming real life.
Yeah.
And there is, like, a difference. That's, I mean, it's a new thing, right? Twitch never had to really deal with this before, so it is a new thing. But it's not one and the same.
Yeah.
And basically what I'll get into is there's just no accountability online. So, like, I don't think it's going to be a problem for most people. But the thing is, I guess in her case, she's part of the normalized breastfeeding movement, which I hate movements of all kinds. I do believe they're necessary in certain circumstances.
It almost sounded like you said Snickers.
Snickerstances. But, like, people tend to get really unaware and cringy when they're part of a movement and they just start hashtagging things, and it's just stupid. But look, if people don't think breastfeeding is normal, I think if that's something you're passionate about, go ahead. I believe it's normal.
It's sort of weird because I feel like I remember being in high school and like there was a lot of like, oh, normalized breastfeeding sort of thing, and I don't know, it just seems weird that it's still a conversation like almost 10 years later.
I mean, I think some people are still uncomfortable with it. Oh, it's weird because, like, I mean, in the olden days, I'm sure it wasn't a problem because, like, things were much more practical, I feel, or it was more sort of just a survival thing. I mean, once again, I'll say, as I say every podcast,
I've said this before.
When people's lives are good,
when
people's lives are good, they'll create problems. But I guess, I don't know, somewhere along the lines, people got comfortable with it. But there's such a fundamental difference between you're at a restaurant and you're eating dinner with your family and you have a baby and they're hungry and you breastfeed there. It's not like you went to the restaurant to breastfeed in public. And those people that went to the restaurant didn't come to see you.
Yeah.
They came to eat their food. When you're streaming on Twitch, people tune in to see you.
Yeah.
And if you breastfeed on stream, people tune in to see you. And when they see you, they'll see you breastfeeding on stream a good amount of the time. Because if that's something you do on stream, you're probably going to be doing it a good bit of the time if you're like someone who stays at home and does Twitch full time or something like that.
So was this the first time she had breastfed on stream?
I don't know if it was the first time, but I think it was probably, I mean, I'm sure this sort of thing's happened before, but it's probably the first case that's really caught traction.
Okay.
And so there is a fundamental difference in that people tune in to see you, and like women generally, unless maybe you're part of the normalized breastfeeding movement and you want to like shove it in people's faces, they generally don't like try to get people to look at them breastfeeding while they're in public. They're usually just trying to do a practical thing.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they'll have like a sheet or something over just because either they're subconscious or whatever, it doesn't matter. When you're doing it on Twitch, like I understand she's obviously biased because she's trying to like normalize breastfeeding, which I don't think in itself is a bad thing. But when you do that in real life, fine enough. But when you do it on a stream on the internet, there's no accountability, and in my opinion, you're exploiting your child. Like, your child can't consent to being on video to all these random people online, and they certainly can't consent to you having your tit out and them being there, and whoever online might have a fetish for that or something, or anything, who are, can easily have screen grabs of that.
Right.
It's like there's no accountability online compared to real life. Like in real life, you're at a restaurant, you're breastfeeding, someone walks up to your table and starts jerking off, they're gonna get arrested. That's a hilarious thought, but whatever. It like you do that online, there's nothing stopping anyone, and you're okay with exposing your kid to that. Like, it's very, I don't know, it's very not cool to me. Because like, if the kid was old enough to consent to being online at all, then they wouldn't be breastfeeding normally. Because I've seen those cases, but because it goes back also to, like, in my opinion, I don't think that you should really ever post pictures or videos of your kids online.
Yeah.
Like, because they just, when they're too young to understand, like, the consequences of that, like the potential consequences, like, you shouldn't exploit. It's basically exploitation in certain circumstances. And you're posting pictures of your kids for like likes or whatever. It's like, okay, whatever. But in this circumstances, especially if you got all kinds of weird people on the internet, so you're including your child in that, and you're in a situation where 9 out of 10 women breastfeeding in real life, once again, they're not doing that so people will watch them. They would prefer if people would ignore them, actually.
Right.
At least that's the impression I get. So why don't you just take your camera and tilt it up?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just tilt up your camera and show your face?
Or, to go along with that, like, she was playing a game?
I don't know if she's... Because once again, Twitch isn't just games anymore, so
right.
She could have been like a chatting stream, or I don't know. I imagine she wouldn't be playing a game while she's breastfeeding because it would be hard to control it.
Right, but even, let's say she was playing a game, right? It's something where you could cover your camera for a few minutes.
Yeah, you can turn off your camera. You can tilt the camera because you don't need to like use your face. So like you can just show your face, and you can change scenes in OBS so you can have like a different camera layout for when you're going to breastfeed. Like
Yeah.
There's very practical solutions to this.
Now, the other thing I
But
was gonna say is, like, I'd imagine there are, like, I know the rules are pretty tight on Twitch, but I'd imagine there are Twitch thoughts out there, right? People like
yeah, that's what I was referring to more eloquently earlier.
yeah. I'm just gonna say more bluntly. Like, I imagine there are streamers out there who are using their sexuality or their looks for views.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this woman, she's just doing something, and she gets in trouble. And the thing I was going to say, like, well, you know, I'm pretty sure if there are people out there who want to watch Twitch thoughts for reasons outside of gameplay or whatever, I'm sure they'd be happy to watch a woman breastfeed. But then maybe that's the problem, is that there are people who like watching that, and therefore it is sexual.
It's exploitative.
Yeah, it's sexual in nature to them.
Exactly. Like, you can't like take off your pants and spread your asshole on stream and just say it's natural. Everyone has an asshole. Everyone shits.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I agree with you, but if you were doing that, then you'd be doing it so that people who like that will tune in and they'll donate to you or whatever. Like, I think I don't think it's like that with this person. I think this person wants to put forward her message of like breastfeeding is normal, which I agree with. However, it's not really normal to to live stream it. Like, I could get the sort of the attitude of, well, that's what, if that's what people are doing, then whenever, I don't care. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just showing that breastfeeding is natural. People can do anything with a video, so that's not my problem. I could see that, but at the same time, you're still putting that child who doesn't have the brain to have that opinion, like,
your child is stupid.
Yeah, well, they are for a little while. So they don't know what Twitch is. They don't know that they're in that circumstance. So it's exploitative in that way. And you'll have people who, breastfeeding, there is a fetish for that. It doesn't mean that it's not a natural thing. It just means people do have a fetish for it. So you'll have those people turning in. You'll also have people tuning in who just like, okay, well, she's breastfeeding, so at some point we're probably going to see some nipples. So it's like, I understand in a way her whole normalized breastfeeding thing. And obviously, I'm disconnected from it enough just because I've never breastfed before. But
why not?
I've known people who have. I tried, but they wouldn't latch.
I tried, but the people around me told me to stop.
Yeah, they were uncomfortable with me just streaming on Twitch. That's like, it's sort of a tangent, but I always thought that was a little bit stupid, just because, like, the fact that male nipples aren't considered nudity, but female nipples are, and
right.
I guess just the fact that there's a practical use for them. Like, I don't know, but the fact that that sort of mindset exists, I don't necessarily agree with it fully, but at the same time, if that sort of is the law of the land in the U.S., then why should it be any different on Twitch for that to be considered nudity?
I think guys can't show their nipples on Twitch, though.
That's true. I think guys can't take their shirts off anymore.
Yeah,
I think they did change that.
Yeah, because my brother has a friend.
Well, you could also exploit that.
Yeah, my brother has a friend who streams, and he started the stream shirtless, and then realized he had to put a shirt on.
Well, that just annoys me because I like to be shirtless just because it's always fucking hot. So, like, but like, I don't know. It's a weird issue, and I can understand sort of Twitch's reluctance to say no, you can't.
Yeah.
Because I think, I don't know, you have to be considerate of people, and I believe there probably are a good amount of like young mothers who do stream on Twitch, but when it comes to situations like this, I sort of think, like, if I was in that situation, just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I would be horrified to do that on stream, just not because of like my body, but just because like there's a child involved.
Right.
I would never even want to show my children anywhere near the stream or anywhere online, just because people out there are assholes, and they'll they'll like dox you, or they'll, whatever. You don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, it's like
So
did you ever see that Bill Burr interview on H3H3
I think I did.
where Ethan's trying to ask Bill Burr about like his family, and Bill's just like, "What are you doing? I don't want to talk about that." And he's like, "Why not?" Because they're fucking freaks on the internet.
Yeah, you just don't know. Like, why would you put yourself at risk in that way?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's kind of fucked up that this child won't even know it. May never even know that they were just like sucking on a tit online, and they just don't know about that.
And someday
Like,
they'll
that's
get
kinda fucked
blackmailed.
up. Yeah, I have a picture of you as a baby sucking a tit, you pervert. No. No, but it's just, I don't know. I think just because people can doesn't mean they should. I don't think this is going to be the end of it. I think some other changes are going to be coming. Because I don't know. Maybe it won't be enough of a common occurrence for it to really matter that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see this turning very exploitative. And of course, I hold the lowest expectations of Twitch chat and just people online in general.
Right.
So I don't think this is going to be a beautiful growing moment. Well, it might be a growing moment. But yeah, I
You
don't know.
banged your table.
Yeah, my erection was hitting the bottom of my table. But yeah, I don't. It's sort of. It was such a weird thing because I saw the initial sort of talk about it, and I saw an article that was like, women are, like protesting to be able to breastfeed on Twitch,
Mm-hmm.
and like they like made a day out of it, I believe. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, it's gonna happen. Like Twitch is gonna roll over, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. And it's just such an odd thing to see a site that went from a gaming site to transform into just basically a social site, and then transform into nudity is okay sometimes, but maybe just when you're breastfeeding a child. And also like, well, what if I'm going to breastfeed in 5 minutes? Can I have my tits out for 5 minutes and then breastfeed? Like it's like, there's, as soon as you start making rules that are not clear, that don't define things well, then you start cherry picking how you enforce them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you shut down the creators that you don't like, and you leave alone the creators that you do like. Like, it just creates more opportunity for inequality.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a bold statement, and I could be wrong, but I think any mother out there who's breastfeeding who has half a mind, that might be extreme, but I think even if they can, I don't think they would do that on stream.
Right.
Because just why would you do that? Especially like if you want, I don't know, like it's such a weird thing. And I'm not talking about breastfeeding, normalized breastfeeding, go rah rah rah, but I'm talking about the concept of this. It's like not the legality of it, but more like the concept of breastfeeding online,
mm-hmm.
live to viewers. But it's not a sexual thing. If you're, I don't know, especially if you're not a gameplay channel, because okay, maybe you've got a picture down in the corner and you're just playing a game, okay, whatever, and you don't feel like shutting off your camera, okay, whatever. But like, if you're like a just chatting channel or like a talk show channel, and you do that, it's like, what's the audience? What's the audience outside of the normalized breastfeeding, like mothers and stuff like that? Like, I don't know. That's so weird.
Other babies?
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of already what they are, isn't it? But, yeah, I don't. It's just such an odd time to be alive, man. Um, and it. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, it sort of takes a bit more credibility away from Twitch as a gaming site,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, once again, like, I'm acting like these mothers are gonna attack me with their tits or something. Like, I don't like.
Bring it on.
Breastfeeding's fine. Yeah, look, just try me. Most natural thing in the world, man. But I think most normal people I know don't actively, like, they're sitting in their house and they're like, oh, time to breastfeed. I'll go out for a walk. It's like, what the, like, why? I don't know. Maybe